I'm going to talk to Brendan ONeill now. He's editor of Spiked Online. Brendan, I want to talk to you about England players taking the knee, but I'd love to get your thoughts this morning on how you feel as someone who has long before me actually, in the first lockdown, opposed to a lockdown policy. What are you feeling today?
I just think it's really depressing. I think this is an extraordinary act of cowardice by the government. They are just not, they have no bottle. They have nothing left in them. They're just going along with this fearful idea that we will never be free of COVID, that we have to lock down in response to every risk. I think, some people are saying it's just 4 weeks. It's easy for some people to
Yeah.
say that. It's not their business that's going to go under. It's not their mental health that's going to suffer in those instances. It's not their children whose education has been worse than middle class children's and upper middle class children's. These lockdowns, these restrictions, these regulations have severe impacts on people's lives. I think this is more than just a delay. I think a Rubicon has been
Yeah.
crossed because the message that the government has sent is that we will not hesitate to enforce unprecedented restrictions on your lives if there is any kind of risk facing society. And we do not want to organise society along those
No,
lines.
and that's it. It's about the principle, isn't it? It's just any deaths at all, any risk of a new variant, any risk of hospitals being at some point in the not too distant or distant future being overwhelmed. I mean, no efforts to actually build up hospital capacity to prevent that from happening. By the way, dismantling the Nightingales, not recruiting the extra staff to do their work. This is the thing. We're basically being told it's a safety at all costs, and when I say at all costs, at all costs. Nothing is not worth doing if it can keep one more person alive. And it seems to me that is, it's, as you say, it's not just 4 more weeks. Based on the tests that they have set themselves, it is forever. Because even with the vaccine rollout and the very success of the vaccines, we are going to have cases going up, hospitalisations going up, deaths going up. And it was made very clear by the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary yesterday that they were not going to guarantee there wouldn't be lockdowns in the future. And yeah, I as one of those texters just said, I genuinely feel scared for the future. I feel scared of the life that my child is going to have compared to the life I've had so far, and the lives we are bequeathing to the nation from this. Just this pitiful derogation of the government's duty.
You're absolutely right. It's not 4 weeks. It's a new way of life because the signal that they are now sending is that no level of risk is tolerable and it's unacceptable for anyone to catch COVID, even if, as is the case right now, it tends to be mild illness among the young. That's what's happening with the Delta variant for the most part. The fact is that, the vaccine rollout has been a huge success. We've broken the link between infection and death. The vulnerable and the elderly are, for the most part, protected. This is what we were told would allow us to open up. But instead, what's happened? We've had this almost 18 months of a nightmare. We were told it was 3 weeks to flatten the curve. That became 3 months to flatten the curve. That became a year in and out of lockdown. And now here we are. Glorious sunshine. We know viruses do less well in summer. People have been vaccinated in their tens of millions, and we're still facing these restrictions. This is not normal, and people should be very angry about it.
People should, and it really, don't get sad, do get angry. I have to say, I do veer between despair and anger, but it is very fearful. Let's talk about the things that the government has allowed to happen because they want to keep the masses happy, and we're all happy when there's a football tournament. I'm delighted the football's happening. Interesting, of course, that full capacity for Wimbledon, but not full capacity for Wembley Stadium at this point, because, of course, what a surprise, the Prime Minister's a tennis fan. I mean, one rule for thee, one rule for me and all that. But ongoing battles over this taking of the knee. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has waded in because she thinks it's popular. England players taking the knee is just gesture politics, and she won't condemn the fans who are booing them, although some others have, including Boris Johnson. We saw the extraordinary scenes yesterday where Scotland played against Ukraine, and Croatia. Apologies. No, it wasn't. Well, it was Ukraine, wasn't it? They played Ukraine, and they didn't take the knee, but they are playing England on Friday, and they will take the knee. What's that about?
I mean, that is so revealing, isn't it? Because this is so political now, and it's a question of who's going to be in the crowd, whether they're going to get a horrible response. And I think there's a lot of opportunism in what Scotland has decided to do, to take the knee in one situation and not in another. I think Priti Patel was right. I think actually we should go further. Not only should we not condemn the fans for booing the knee, I think we should celebrate the fans who have booed the taking of the knee, because I don't think they're being racist. Of course, there will be a handful of racists, as there are in every section of society. I think they are booing the politicization of football. They are booing the introduction of these naff virtue signals into the game, which are dedicated to saying to the fans, you're probably racist. Everyone you know is probably racist. Britain is a racist hellhole, and therefore we must have these knee-taking spectacles in order to raise awareness. Fans don't want to hear that. They don't want to be lectured. They want to see a good game of football.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see the beginnings of a working-class revolt against wokeness, and that's something I think we should celebrate.
Absolutely. And just because I know people have been shouting at the radio, it was the Czech Republic that Scotland played. Sorry. My husband would be so cross with me for getting that wrong. I've watched the game as well. That's what's thrown me. Brendan O'Neill, couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining us.